porra tá acontecendo aqui? Que merda tá acontecendo aqui?
Haven't you figured out I don't speak your fucking language?
I have no idea why, but that's probably my most favorite scene in this entire game. So Max Payne 3 is a little over 10 years old now. It originally debuted back in 2012, and to this day is considered one of the best third-person shooters ever created. I mean, with a budget of over $105 million, and with it being the only linear shooter Rockstar ever developed, it better be, right? Now before I go any further, let me just say this. If you've never played Max Payne 3, I highly recommend you play it. From the story, the graphics, the gunplay, this game is aged phenomenally well. The gunplay really being front and center here. This is actually the game that Rockstar used to help improve the shooting mechanics of Grand Theft Auto 5. They've actually done it way better in this game. So it's one of those games where gameplay definitely comes first. If you want to know a basic idea what the story is, in layman's terms, it's middle-aged alcoholic with a strong opiate addiction kills half of Brazil. There's obviously way more to it, but that's a general concept. The game's approach to storytelling is also incredibly unique, with you never really leaving Max's head and the fact that he talks in retrospectives.
Here I was again, with all hell breaking loose around me, standing over another dead girl I had been trying to protect.
It gives Rockstar some nice clean scene transitions from past to present and back again. And considering the events of Max Payne 3 takes place 9 years after Max Payne 2, and there is a legitimate development cycle that was about 9 years long, the transitions from past to present and back again help bring both newcomers and longtime fans on the same page. Not to mention the wonderful variety in gameplay that it provides. To go from providing ransom money in the middle of a soccer stadium in downtown Brazil, that leads you getting caught up in the middle of a shootout between two other organizations that you then have to battle your way out of. Then from there, jumping to Max wallowing in his own filth back when he was an ex-NYPD officer getting drunk at a bar. Seeing Max kill a mobster's son, forcing you to fight your way through the streets of Hoboken. Not only reliving Max's past and seeing firsthand why he decided to leave the streets of New York, but for me personally, reliving some of that nostalgia. Seeing Max wear some of that old attire from the previous two games and him back in the streets of New York doing what he did best, apparently killing mobsters' sons. Then we jump to corporate building shootout over to the slums of a favela, and that's only some of the locations that you visit throughout the course of this game. But why are we going over such vast distances over only an 8-hour period? Well, let's discuss this game's story.
Listen, if you think I can still do a job, what have I got to lose? Apart from the weight. Very funny. Ha ha. Yes, that is a fake laugh, you jerk.
As previously stated, taking place roughly 9 years after the events of Max Payne 2, Max is now part of a private security detail set to protect the Branco family. With Rodrigo Branco being the main one he's set to protect, Rodrigo himself is a wealthy real estate mogul in Sao Paulo, Brazil, with his younger brother Victor being a local politician, and the youngest Marcelo being nothing more than a partying idiot.
Oh, where's that?
It's just down the road.
Whatever. Last time I was there, I got so wasted, I nearly shit myself.
Being this is Brazil and the entire family on the surface is well known and seemingly loaded with cash, they all have a target on their back. But Max is just going through the motions. He's deeper in his alcohol and painkiller addiction now than he ever has been, and the game constantly shows him taking shots or throwing his head back to swallow some pills, even making it clear that he doesn't really enjoy the company of those that he's set to protect.
A couple of days later, it was back to work, ferrying the boss's broad and his dipshit of a brother out for the night so they could recover from their brush with mortality.
Now, the alcoholism and painkillers, I wanted to point out because I seen someone mention that with all that's going on in this game's story, with Max being an ex-cop, you'd think he would have caught on to potentially being used as a fall guy further down the line, especially since there could have been some red flags, as shortly after being brought on board as the partner to Passos, a yacht they were on set to protect together was ambushed, and Marcelo and Passos were nowhere to be found. When they were found, suspiciously they looked like they were smuggling something, and they both left Max behind to deal with the intruders alone on the yacht. But Max says it himself, he was so loaded at the time he had no idea what was going on.
I had been so loaded in Panama, I could scarcely remember my own name. I know things had got real heavy.
It's kind of an understatement. And he continues down that path until Rodrigo gets assassinated on his watch. But really, that's the trajectory of this game's story. Max is still visibly in pain with all that he's been through. They show him at Michelle and their daughter's grave, and before this scene, Fabiana, the wife of Rodrigo, gets executed in front of him, and he compares the two.
Okay.
Here I was again, with all hell breaking loose around me, standing over another dead girl I had been trying to protect.
It's a story where in the middle of fighting an addiction and grief he never properly moved on from, he's still trying to make things right by avenging the death of his previous boss, Rodrigo. I kind of don't want to spoil more of this game's story as it has a pretty neat twist as to who Rodrigo's assassin was and how Max and even his partner Passos get involved with the giant mess, but it's a phenomenal story with some crazy twists and turns. At one point you run across a black market ring where they're harvesting human organs. You actually witness the special police of Sao Paulo round up these people, drop them off in an abandoned hotel, and in the basement of that hotel they're actually taking the organs from them and they're using the profits of that black market to fund a local politician's campaign. And that politician is the main villain of the game. I don't want to spoil any more of it. It's a phenomenal game. If you got the chance, play it. It's a solid 10 out of 10 all the way through. But let's move on to this game's gameplay. Ah, fuck, I shot the hostage. While the story and the delivery of this game is absolutely phenomenal, the gameplay is really where this game shines the most. With locations ranging from a yacht, police station, airport, favela, nightclub, football stadium, a cemetery in New York, among a few other places, Max leaves a trail of bodies across the globe and it's glorious. The physics and animation work in this game are still damn impressive 10 years later, with Max diving and you being able to stay on your back, unleashing a hail of bullets like a drunk father unleashing a flurry of insults at his disappointing children. Enemies react to gunshots. You can actually see the wonderful bullet holes you leave them riddled with. In some cases, the presentation here is also amazing, with the gameplay going from the last kill of, I don't want to consider it arena, but for lack of a better word, let's say arena. If you're clearing out a specific room, there's about 10 to 15 enemies on that last enemy. You kind of get this final kill cam presentation, and then the game seamlessly transitions into the cutscene to push the story along. The enemy roster isn't anything too crazy, with most going down with a simple gunshot to the head, provided you're accurate enough. As you progress through the story, eventually you will come across special police units that do have helmets and body armor, which does require a little extra shots here and there to knock off their helmets, and if you're shooting at their armor, you see the bullets ricochet off the vest. Minute details like that, or seeing entry and exit wounds of rounds in enemy corpses, or even walls getting knocked down, glasses being broken, dust being thrown around from walls from bullets hitting a brick wall. It's hard not to get sucked into any one of these gunfights. There is a cover mechanic, interestingly enough, in this game, although to be honest with you, unless you're playing on a harder difficulty, you really don't need to use it. Considering you're fast enough and more or less accurate enough, you do have the ability to slow down time after all, and Max has the capability to dive forwards, backwards, sideways, and whenever you do that, he does slow down time, giving you the chance to clear out entire rooms. I also want to say I just restarted this game on the hard difficulty, and it's so much more fun. It doesn't seem like complete bullshit. You don't die out of nowhere. You really only die when you're being careless, or you're not quick enough, or you're not catching that piece of cover at the right times. Bullet time is given to you more sparingly. It's done after, I believe, you need headshots in order to refill it, so you can't really cheese the system. It seems to be much more rewarding playing on those harder difficulties, with Max having the chance to basically go the alcoholic's version of Super Saiyan and slow everything down. Harder difficulty is the way to go. Considering this is Rockstar as well, the environments are littered with Easter eggs. You can run into American tourists in Sao Paulo having a wonderful time.
No shooting! Por favor, amigo! No.
Relax, soldier.
You're American? Oh, jeez, buddy. Am I glad to see you? Oh, fuck me. I've been coming to this shithole town for the last 5 years. It's like a fucking insane asylum. But it's got the cheapest pussy in the world.
My personal favorite one has to be when Max runs across a piano and he plays the original theme from the first Max Payne game.
There it was, the soundtrack to my life. And for a few seconds came harmony.
The fact this is just moments before you stumble across that black market organ theft ring is just icing on the cake. But that's our trip down memory lane. You can pick up Max Payne incredibly cheap these days, which I highly recommend, especially if you're a PC player. You can pick it up anywhere from like $5 to $8. Absolute steal. If you're new to the channel or if you just stuck around this long, thank you. Maybe consider hitting that subscribe button and keeping an eye out for a giant ass Grand Theft Auto 5 video I've been working on. But until that's out, maybe watch this Red Dead Redemption 2 video that severely underperformed.